"Daughter," the elder said, "your grief is known. Your husband's name is not lost." She nodded once, but she did not sit. Her voice came out clear and calm. "I did not ask for this circle because I forgot him," she said. "I asked for this circle because I remember him." The people leaned in slightly, like grass leaning toward the wind. "I have heard many words," she continued. "Words about honor. Words about bravery. Words about what a true Lakota warrior should be." She paused and looked around the circle. Her eyes moved across the faces, some kind, some proud, some curious, some uncomfortable. "Words are easy," she said. "Even a weak man can borrow strong words." A small wave of discomfort moved through the crowd. A few young men lifted their chins, as if they had been challenged without being named. Wayaka Wing lifted her hand and pointed at the shield. "This belonged to my husband," she said. "He carried it when the nights were cold and the trails were long. He carried it when fear tried to enter the heart. He carried it when he did not know if he would return." She stepped closer to the blanket. "This shield is not only a thing," she said. "It is a promise." Her voice became stronger, not louder, but heavier. "So, I will ask this," she said. "If you say you are a true Lakota warrior, then show me." Now the circle was fully silent. A child shifted and was quickly pulled closer by his mother. Even the dogs seemed still. Wiyaka Wing raised her chin. "Show me you are true," she said. "Not in your mouth, but in your actions. Not in your pride, but in your heart." For a breath, nobody moved. Then one man stepped forward. He was tall and decorated with beads and feathers. His hair was tied neatly. He looked strong and confident, like someone who expected people to watch him. "I will show you," he said. Another man stepped forward, then another, and another. Soon there were many. Some came with bold eyes. Some smiled, as if the challenge was already won. Some came slowly but with seriousness. Each man had his own reason: honor, pride, hope, and maybe even the wish to be remembered. Before long, 25 men stood forward in a line, near the center fire. The people whispered, "That one is fast. That one is strong. That one hunts well. That one has never lost a wrestling match. That one speaks like a leader." Wiyaka Wing watched them all. Her face did not soften. She did not look impressed. She walked slowly along the line, studying each man. Some stood taller when she looked at them. Some tried not to blink. Some held their heads high like a bird in the wind. Then she stopped. Not because she had reached the end, because she had noticed something beyond the line. At the far edge of the circle, half in shadow, a man stood quietly. He was not decorated. He did not push forward. He did not call for attention. He looked like someone who could disappear among the people and never be noticed if you only looked with lazy eyes. But Wiyaka Wing's eyes were not lazy. She saw him. His clothing was simple. His hair was tied back with plain leather. His hands were calm at his sides. His face had no proud smile and no angry frown. His eyes were lowered, but not in fear. It was as if he was listening to something deeper than the crowd. Some people recognized him, but many did not. They knew his name, but it was not a famous name. He was called Taku Shkong, which meant something like quiet motion. He was the type of man who helped without being asked. The type of man who fixed a broken strap and walked away without waiting for thanks. The type of man who hunted carefully and shared his food without speaking about it. He did not join the line of 25 men, and because he did not join, some young men laughed quietly. "Is he afraid?" one whispered. Another elder narrowed his eyes, as if he was trying to remember something about that silent man. Wiaka Wing stepped back to the shield. "This shield will not go to the loudest man," she said. "It will not go to the man with the best stories." She placed her palm on the shield, gentle but firm. "It will go to the one who proves he can carry its meaning," she said. Then she lifted her gaze again, past the 25 men, toward the quiet edge of the circle. Her voice stayed calm, but it carried like wind across water. "And you," she said, looking at Taku Shang, "if you are truly nothing, then stay where you are." The crowd turned to look at him. Taku Shang did not step forward. He did not speak. He only met her eyes for one steady breath. Then he lowered his gaze again. Not in shame, in choice. Wayaka Wing turned back to the line of men. "The first trial begins at sunrise tomorrow," she said. "Prepare your bodies, prepare your minds, prepare your hearts." The circle broke slowly. People walked away in small groups, talking quietly. Some were excited. Some were nervous. Some were already choosing favorites. But Wiaka Wing did not join their talk. She picked up the shield and carried it back toward her home with careful steps. Behind her, far from the noise, Taku Shkang still stood. And though he had said nothing, something about his silence stayed in the air. Like a drumbeat you could not hear with your ears, only with your heart. The sun had not yet climbed over the hills when the camp began to move. The air was cool, and the sky was painted with soft colors of gray and light blue. A thin mist rested over the land like a quiet blanket. Birds called to one another, and the sound of footsteps filled the morning. The 25 men gathered near the center of camp. Some stretched their arms. Some spoke in low voices. Some stood silent, looking toward the east where the sun would rise. Wayaka Wing stood near the elders. The shield rested on a wooden stand beside her. She did not speak. She only watched. At the far side of the group, Taku Skong stood quietly, just as he had the day before. He had not joined the line, but he had come. No one had told him to leave. No one had told him to stay. He had chosen to be there. One of the elders stepped forward. "The first trial will test endurance," the elder said. "Not strength for a moment, but strength that lasts." He pointed toward the wide river in the distance. The river curved through the land like a long silver snake. The water moved fast from the mountain rains of the past days. "The trial is simple," the elder said. "Cross the river. Reach the far bank. Then return." Some of the men smiled. That is easy, one said. Another laughed. I swim like a fish. Bayaka Wang did not smile. The group began to walk toward the river. The grass grew shorter near the water, and the ground became soft. The sound of rushing water grew louder with every step. When they reached the river, the men stopped. Up close, it did not look so easy. The water was wide. It moved fast and strong. Small waves broke against hidden rocks. The river did not care who was brave and who was proud. The elder raised his hand. One by one, he said. No helping. No racing? This is not a contest between men. This is a contest between each man and himself. The first man stepped forward. He took a deep breath and walked into the water. It rose quickly around his legs. He pushed forward, using strong strokes with his arms. The water fought back. He struggled but did not stop. After a long moment, he reached the far side. He lifted his arms in the air and shouted. The people on the bank cheered. He rested for a short time, then crossed back, tired but smiling. One by one, the others followed. Some crossed fast, some crossed slow. Some slipped and fell but stood up again. Some swallowed water and coughed, but most made it through. The river tested them, but their pride pushed them forward. Wiyaka Wing watched each man closely. She saw who rushed without thinking. She saw who grew angry when the water slowed them. She saw who helped themselves by grabbing rocks and roots instead of fighting the current. Then Taku Skong stepped forward. The crowd grew quiet. Some whispered again. Why did he wait so long? Does he think he is different? Taku Skong did not rush into the river. He stood at the edge and watched the water. He looked at how it moved around the rocks. He watched where it slowed and where it rushed. He placed one foot in and felt the pull. He stepped back. Then he walked along the bank for a short distance. The elder raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Taku Skong found a place where the water curved gently, where the river spread wider and moved slower. He stepped in. He did not fight the river. Demon said he moved with it. When the water pushed, he leaned. When it pulled, he stepped. His arms did not splash. His face did not show anger or fear. Slowly, steadily, he crossed. Some of the proud men frowned. He is taking too long, one whispered. But Wiyaka Wing watched closely. Taku Skong reached the far bank without slipping, without coughing, without shouting. He sat down quietly, rested, and then crossed back the same way. When he stepped onto dry land again, he simply nodded once and stepped aside. The elder spoke. The first trial is complete, he said. Some of the men looked tired, some looked proud, some looked unsure. The group walked back toward camp to rest before the second trial. As they walked, a bold warrior walked beside Taku Skong. You move like you are afraid of the water, the man said with a small laugh. Taku Skang looked at him calmly. No, he said. I respect it. The man did not know what to say to that. By midday, the sun was high, the air grew warm. The second trial was about to begin. The elders led the group toward a rocky hill that rose sharply from the land. It was not the tallest hill, but it was steep and uneven. Loose stones covered the ground. The path up was narrow and broken. The elder spoke again. "This is the trial of judgment," he said. "Reach the top, then return. But remember, falling is not failure. Refusing to think is." The men looked up. Some grinned. Some sighed. The first few rushed forward, eager to show speed and strength. They climbed fast, grabbing rocks and pulling themselves up. But speed brought mistakes. A man slipped. Stones rolled down. Another man nearly lost his balance when a rock broke under his hand. The crowd gasped. The men below moved aside as small rocks bounced past them. One by one, the men climbed. Some learned to slow down. Some kept rushing and paid for it with tired arms and shaking legs. Takuskang waited again. He watched the path. He noticed where stones fell. He saw where others struggled. He traced a path with his eyes before he ever placed his hands on the rock. When he climbed, he moved carefully. He tested every hold. He stepped where the ground was firm. Halfway up, he saw another man stuck. The man's foot was caught between two rocks, and he could not pull it free. People below shouted, "Keep going! Do not help him! This is your trial!" Takuskang stopped. He looked down at the man, then up at the top of the hill. For a moment, he stood still. Then he turned back. He carefully moved down a few steps and helped the man free his foot. He made sure the man was steady. Only then did he continue his climb. Some people murmured, "He will lose time. He will fail." But Takuskang reached the top. Not first, not last. Just steady. When he came back down, Wiyaka Wing met his eyes. She did not smile, but she nodded once. The sun began to lower in the sky. The shadows grew long. The elder raised his staff. "The third trial will not happen here," he said. "It will happen tonight." The men looked at one another. "This is the trial of spirit," the elder continued. "Each of you will sit alone, beyond the firelight. You will not speak. You will not carry a weapon. You will stay until the sun rises." Some men shifted. A few laughed nervously. "The night is long," one said. "The night is quiet," another said. Wiyaka Wing stepped forward. "The night is honest," she said. That evening, the fire burned bright in the center of camp. The men were led, one by one, to different places in the dark land beyond the light. They sat alone. The wind moved through the grass. The sky filled with stars. Some men felt brave at first. Then the quiet grew heavy. They heard animals in the distance. They heard their own breathing. But they felt memories rise in their minds. Some stood up and returned to the fire before the night was half over. Some stayed, but their hearts raced and their thoughts jumped like scared rabbits. Takuskang walked far from the fire. He sat down near a small rise in the land. He closed his eyes. He did not fight his thoughts. He did not chase them. He let them pass like clouds. The night moved slowly. The wind cooled the land. The stars turned. When the first light of morning touched the sky, Takushang stood and walked back. He was not shaking. He was not proud. He was calm. The camp gathered again. Some men looked tired. Some looked relieved. Some did not return at all. Wayaka Wing stepped forward. She looked at the group. Then her eyes moved to Takuskang, and for the first time her face softened just a little. The shield still rested on its stand, but now its meaning felt closer than ever. The morning after the long night felt different. The air was fresh, but heavy at the same time. The camp woke slowly, as if the land itself was thinking about what had happened in the dark. Smoke rose from small cooking fires. Children spoke in soft voices. Even the dogs moved calmly. The men who had stayed through the night gathered near the center circle again. There were fewer now. Some had left before sunrise, choosing warmth and light over silence and shadow. Some stood with tired eyes and stiff backs. A few stood tall, trying to hide how the night had touched them inside. Takuskang stood among them, quiet as always. Wiyaka Wing walked into the circle with the shield in her hands. The morning sun touched its worn surface, making the old marks and scratches shine softly. She placed it back on the stand and looked at the men. "You have crossed water," she said. "You have climbed stone. You have sat with the night." Her voice was calm, but clear. "Now comes the hardest part," she continued. "Because now you will face each other." Some of the men straightened. A bold warrior stepped forward. "So we will fight?" he asked, his eyes bright. Wiyaka Wing shook her head. "No," she said. "Not with fists. Not with weapons." The man frowned. "Then how?" She stepped closer to the shield. "You will fight with truth," she said. The elders moved into a wide circle around the group. The people of the camp gathered again, curious and quiet. An elder spoke. "Each of you will step forward," he said. "And each of you will speak." The men looked at one another. "Speak about what?" someone asked. "Speak about who you are," the elder replied. "Not who you want others to see. Who you truly are." The crowd grew silent. The bold warrior who had spoken earlier went first. He stepped into the center. "My name is Strong," he said. "My arms are strong. I have won many contests. I hunt well. I protect my family." People nodded. He smiled slightly, proud of his words. He stepped back. Another man stepped forward. "I am fast," he said. "I can run longer than most. I can climb higher than most. I do not give up." One by one, the men spoke. They talked about their skills, their courage, their victories. Their good actions. The crowd listened politely. Wayaka Wing listened carefully, but her face did not change. Then Taku Skong was called. He stepped forward slowly. He stood in the center of the circle, surrounded by faces. For a moment, he said nothing. The wind moved through the grass. A bird called in the distance. Then he spoke. "My name is Taku Skong," he said. "I am not the fastest. I am not the strongest. I am not the loudest." Some people shifted. "I have been afraid," he continued. "I have been angry. I have made mistakes." The circle grew even quieter. "I have walked away when I should have stayed," he said. "And I have stayed when I should have walked away. I try to learn," he said. "I try to listen. I try to help when I can. I fail sometimes." He looked at the shield. "I do not know if I am worthy to carry this," he said. "But I know that if I ever did, I would carry it for the people, not for myself." He stepped back. No one spoke for a long moment. Even the bold men did not smile now. Wayaka Wing took a slow breath. The elder raised his hand. "The trial is not over," he said. The men looked up. "You will now work together," the elder continued. "Not to win, but to serve." He pointed toward the far edge of camp. "There is an old woman who lives alone near the trees," he said. "Her shelter was damaged in the last storm. Her firewood is wet. Her path is blocked by fallen branches." Some of the men frowned. "That is not a warrior's task," one whispered. The elder heard. "A warrior's task is whatever protects life," he said firmly. The group was sent together. They walked through the grass toward the trees. The old woman's shelter was small and leaning. The ground around it was muddy. Wet wood lay in a pile. At first, the men did not know what to do. Some stood with crossed arms. Some looked at each other, waiting for someone else to start. Taku Skong did not wait. He picked up a fallen branch and began to move it away from the path. Another man watched him. Then, slowly, that man picked up a branch too. Soon, more joined. They cleared the path. They stacked dry wood. They pushed the shelter's poles back into place. They tied the loose parts with rope and leather. The old woman sat nearby, watching with quiet eyes. She did not say much, but when the work was done, she stood and placed her hand on Taku Skong's shoulder. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded. The group walked back to camp in silence. Something had changed. The bold warrior walked beside Taku Skong. "You do not act like you want to win," he said. Taku Skong looked at him. "I want the shield to mean something," he replied. Back at the circle, the elders spoke quietly among themselves. Wayaka Wing stood alone with the shield. The sun was high now. The camp waited. The elder raised his staff. "Today You have been tested in body, he said. In mind and in heart. He turned to Wayaka Wing. The choice is yours. The widow stepped forward. She walked slowly along the line of men. She looked at their faces. Some were hopeful. Some were nervous. Some were still proud. She stopped in front of the bold warrior. You are strong, she said. He smiled. She moved to the next. You are fast, she said. She moved to another. You are brave, she said. Then she stood in front of Takuskang. He did not look up. She studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke. You are steady, she said. The crowd held its breath, but she did not lift the shield yet. She turned back to the people. This shield does not belong to a moment, she said. It belongs to a path. She looked at the men again. One of you will carry it today, she said, but all of you must carry its meaning tomorrow. The men lowered their heads. The sun moved across the sky. The moment stretched. Wayaka Wing placed her hands on the shield, but she did not give it away. Not yet. She turned and walked away from the circle. The crowd gasped. The elders spoke softly. The final choice will be made at sunset, he said. Until then, walk your path. The men were left standing. Some felt confused. Some felt frustrated. Some felt thoughtful. Takushkang walked to the edge of camp again. He sat down on a small rise in the land and looked out at the wide prairie. The wind touched his face. He did not think about winning. He did not think about the shield. He thought about the old woman, about the river, about the night, about the people. As the sun began to lower, the camp slowly gathered again. The sky turned orange and gold. Wayaka Wing walked back into the circle, the shield in her hands. The air felt tight, like the moment before a storm. She looked at the men one last time, and now everyone could feel it. The choice was coming. The sky was painted with deep orange and soft purple when the people gathered for the last time. The sun rested low, just touching the edge of the land. Long shadows stretched across the prairie, like quiet fingers reaching out. The wind had grown gentle, as if it too wanted to listen. Wayaka Wing stood in the center of the circle, with the shield held in both hands. The elders stood behind her. The men who had taken the trial stood in a line before her. Children sat close to their mothers. Old people leaned forward. Even the birds seemed to rest on the fence posts and trees nearby. This moment felt different from the others. This moment felt final. Wayaka Wing took a slow breath. My husband once told me something, she said. He said a true warrior is not the one people follow because they are loud. A true warrior is the one people follow because they feel safe walking behind him. The people nodded quietly. She stepped forward. I asked you to cross water, she said. I asked you to climb stone. I asked you to sit with the night. I asked you to speak truth. I asked you to serve. She looked down the line of men. You did these things in different ways, she said, and I respect each of you for stepping forward. Some of the men lifted their heads with pride. Others lowered their eyes in thought. She stopped walking. She stood in front of Takuskang. He did not move. He did not smile. He did not straighten his back. He simply stood. Wiaka Wing studied him carefully. "Why did you not step forward on the first day?" she asked. Takuskang took a moment before he answered. "Because I did not come to be chosen," he said. "I came to learn." The crowd grew quiet again. She nodded slowly. "Why did you stop on the hill to help another man?" she asked. "Because he needed help," Takuskang said. And the hill was not going anywhere. A few people smiled softly at that. "Why did you sit alone so far from the fire at night?" she asked. "Because I wanted to hear my own thoughts clearly," he replied. She held the shield closer to her chest. "Why did you begin working at the old woman's shelter without waiting for others?" she asked. "Because the wind would not wait," he said. The people whispered among themselves. Wayaka Wing turned to the elders. They spoke quietly to one another. One elder stepped forward. "This man has shown patience," the elder said. "He has shown care. He has shown respect." Another elder nodded. "He does not try to lead," she said. But others began to follow him. The bold warrior stepped forward suddenly. "I am strong," he said. "I am fast. I am brave. Why should I not carry the shield?" Wiaka Wing looked at him calmly. "You are all those things," she said. "And those things are good." She then pointed toward the children sitting near the circle. "If you walked into the dark land," she asked, "which man would you want your child to walk behind?" The bold warrior opened his mouth. Then he closed it. The question sat heavy in the air. Wiaka Wing turned back to Takuskang. "Step forward," she said. He hesitated. Then he did. He walked into the center of the circle, his steps slow and steady. Wayaka Wing lifted the shield. The sunlight touched its surface one last time before the sun slipped behind the land. "Where—" "This shield does not belong to a hero," she said. "It belongs to a guardian." She held it out. Takuskang did not take it right away. He knelt. The people gasped softly. He placed one hand on the ground. He placed the other over his heart. He bowed his head. "This shield belonged to a man who gave his life for others," he said. "If I carry it, I will try to walk in his shadow, not in his place." Dweyaka Wing felt her throat tighten. She stepped forward and placed the shield into his hands. The moment was quiet. There was no shout, no cheer. Just wind, breath, and beating hearts. Takuskang stood slowly. He did not raise the shield high. He held it close. The elders nodded. The bold warrior lowered his head. The children stared with wide eyes. Wayaka Wing spoke again. "Today, I did not choose a man who wants to be seen, she said. I chose a man who sees others. She turned to the crowd. Let this be our lesson, she said. Strength can lift a rock, but care can lift a person. The people murmured in agreement. That night, a fire was lit in the center of camp, but it was not a fire of celebration. It was a fire of stories. One by one, people came forward. An old man spoke about the time Takuskang had carried him back to camp when his legs failed. A young woman spoke about how he had helped her find her lost horse without asking for thanks. A child spoke about how Takuskang had given him half his food when he was hungry. Takuskang sat near the fire, quiet as always. He did not interrupt. He did not deny the stories. He simply listened. Wiaka Wing sat nearby, the warmth of the fire touching her face. She felt something she had not felt in a long time. Peace. Later, when the fire burned low and the stars filled the sky, Wiaka Wing walked over to Takuskang. You carry the shield well, she said. I have only carried it for a few hours, he replied. She smiled softly. You carry it in the way you walk, she said. He looked at the land. I will try not to drop it, he said. She nodded. That is all anyone can ask. The next morning, the camp woke to a new day. Takuskang walked through the camp with a shield on his back. But he did not walk differently. He still helped tie loose straps. He still shared food. He still listened more than he spoke. The children ran past him, laughing. The elders greeted him with calm respect. The bold warrior walked beside him for a short distance. You did not win, the warrior said. Takuskang looked at him. Neither did you lose, he replied. They walked together in silence, far from the camp on a small hill. Wiaka Wing stood and looked out at the wide land. The wind moved through the grass. The sky stretched open and free. Her husband's shield no longer rested in her home, but she did not feel its absence. She felt its purpose moving forward. The story of that day did not spread because of a challenge. It spread because of a choice. People began to tell it not as a tale of 25 men who tried to prove themselves, but as a tale of one man who never tried at all and became something greater because of it. And so, in quiet voices around many fires, the people would say, a true warrior does not rise above others. He rises for them. The wind would carry those words across the land, and the land would remember. Show me you are a true Lakota warrior, says the widow. 25 men fell, one silent brave rose. The prairie was wide and quiet that morning. The grass moved like water under the wind, and the sky was so open it felt like it had no end. In the middle of that open land, the Lakota camp stood calm, but the people did not feel calm inside. A heavy feeling sat with them like a shadow. Not long ago, a respected warrior had fallen during a hard season. He had been brave, steady, and kind. He was the type of man who did not speak too much, but when he did, people listened. His name was remembered in every fire circle and in every morning prayer. Now, his wife, a widow named Wiaka Wing, walked through camp with a straight back and a quiet face. Her eyes showed that she had cried, but they also showed something else. something sharp, like a stone that had been shaped by many storms. She carried her husband's shield. It was not a loud shield. It did not shine with bright colors. It had marks from time, from travel, from old fights, from rain and dust. But to the people, it was important. The shield carried memory. It carried responsibility. It carried the story of a man who had stood between danger and his people. That day, Wiyaka Wing asked the elders to call everyone to the open circle. The message moved quickly through camp. Women came with children close to their sides. Men came with serious faces. Old people sat down slowly. Young boys stood at the edge, trying to look taller than they were. The fire in the center was small, not for cooking, but for respect. Thin smoke rose up and disappeared into the sky. Wiyaka Wing stepped into the circle without fear. She placed the shield on a blanket near the fire. Then she stood still for a moment, letting the silence grow. In that silence, the camp could hear the wind, the distant birds, and even the soft movement of leather and cloth. An elder spoke first, gently.